Hello everyone, happy it's Thursday today, but tomorrow's gonna be Friday, and I think we're gonna schedule it around there. Um, but today I actually wanted to talk about Scarlet and Violet, which is gonna be the upcoming set, which is our first actual set of 2023. Crown Zenith is more of that specialty set, still holding on to Sword and Shield. Um, and you can tell it's really related to that particular era because of all the reprints, all of the alternate arts within the set, and everything else involved with it. Um, my hair is weird today. What's me? But I did want to touch on the fact that this is gonna be not only like the first set of the new run that we're gonna end up having, but in reality, it's also gonna be the first set with the gray borders, which is actually why Pokemon, I feel like, has been in this lull time where we're not seeing reprints, we're not seeing anything come out like that's like super new. Everything so far has been planned. There are no like extra waves of anything announced that are going to be coming out anytime soon. So it's really just like a wait and see approach of like, we're waiting to see if anything's going to happen, if they're going to be reprinting any of the sets that have just come out, because you don't want to see the secondary market necessarily exploding right after a set has just released. And this is kind of what we're seeing. Not the direct explosion necessarily, like boom, Silver Tempest is now twice the price. No, it's more like you're seeing Silver Tempest and already the boxes are like at 140. Others are leaning, 150. Brilliant Stars is definitely going up there as well. And while Pokemon does want people, buying things, they don't necessarily get to reap the benefits of that secondary market. And so that's why in the past we've seen reprints of popular sets. For instance, Ultra Prism was eventually reprinted, I think the summer of 2020. Like all of a sudden booster boxes were coming out, and like the set had been released for like a whole year already, or two. And then we've seen, different types of reprints, like Champion's Path was reprinted, like the Stages of Elite Trainer boxes that were then released. The worst reprinting fiasco of the Pokemon era that I've seen personally, being Roaring Skies era in XY, where, Roaring Skies, Primal Clash, Crimson Invasion, like all of that little bubble just ended up being like reprinted, and just because like in Roaring Skies you had Strawberry Puppy, well that's what I call it, but Shaman EX, which is now banned and expanded as well. But basically that card was fetching about like $90 for a full art, and then it ended up tanking after all of those reprints and all of this product that was being opened, to about like a $10 card. So anyway, so back to Scarlet and Violet. I'm actually excited because it's not just going to be all of this exciting first set and, after this roll forward of the machines and the printing process and all that, but we're going to end up seeing EX cards again. And EX cards were introduced a good while back, when we look at like the original sets, like the EX Dragon Frontiers, and you look at the Delta series area, and EX Ruby and Sapphire, to then later on during the Black and White chip, chunk, whatever you want to call it, but where we had like the actual big EXs, big basics, and we had, mega EXs, and that was basically it, like that entire time. And then after a while, once that was over, they just said like, okay, we're done with EXs again, and then we entered the GX and the V era, where they incorporated new bits to the game, for competitive play. But now we're gonna be seeing EX Pokemon again, and I'm actually excited because like I've been able to look at some of the cards out so far, like the Arcanine, the Magnezone, the legendary Pokemon from Scarlet and Violet, like Miraidon and Koraidon. I might be saying it wrong. But it's exciting to see how these Pokemon are going to be coming back, or at least this format of Pokemon, because that in Expanded, a lot of the cards that were able to be used around Black and White time, and granted Expanded is far gone because, there's so much going on with all of that's considered Expanded, which I think is like Black and White and on. Anything prior to that is unlimited. But you have so many full sets that are a part of this spectrum now, that it's kind of hard to manage. But if they don't change anything, then a lot of the cards that were like, you know, EX Pokemon can't attack the bench, or EX Pokemon damage won't be applied, cards like that, or cards that are specifically tools that are attached to EX Pokemon, those are things that might still be able to be used and expanded. Within this new set, I've also seen a reprint of the Ultra Ball, which means that that's not going to be going away. And I'm actually excited because that means that the secret rares from like Black and White and XY are both going to be viable. But it's all exciting. And I guess what I really like is, so Sword and Shield was one of the first times I was able to buy like a booster box and actually end up keeping it. This is one of 3 of them that I have, because when I started to collect, I didn't really have that much money, and so anytime that I could get a booster box, it was like a major win for me. And at the time, I guess I started getting booster boxes at like $95 at my cheapest. I think I only ever spent like $89 for a booster box, and I don't remember which one that one was. I have my little frugal way of keeping them safe, little styrofoam and everything. But it's exciting to know that someone else at some point, maybe starting off your journey or like continuing it on, gets to be able to keep these items, and you get to keep them long term and experience the whole, like, I got the first box that was released for this entire chunk of time, like this entire set series. So I'm excited for everyone who partakes. I'm excited for everyone who has a history with it, and especially because this is gonna be a set that, you know, gives you something completely new. And I think the first set of every single new set series time tends to offer that. In Black and White, we had our first full arts come out, and we had like the full art Zekrom, the full art Reshiram, and there was nothing else that was special about him. It was just like an actual full art of the Pokemon card. I have my binder here, but it's covered with stuff. But it was just a simple full art, and they started to introduce like texture in the background. And actually, if you opened packs at different points in time during the times that they were releasing these packs, some of them actually had a visible textured border around the Pokemon, and some of them had a continuous texture. Therefore, you couldn't really tell the difference between the color and the actual Pokemon. And so you could tell the difference if you pulled them at different points in time, because then you were like, oh, this Zekrom has a darker, weird background than the other one. And it just made you think, because it's like, that means that you're actually actively, like, I wasn't paying attention to the waves. I didn't even know things came out in waves at the time. And all of a sudden, I was aware of this. I was aware that in this hobby, there could be, like, multiple releases, and then many of these releases might not even be the same quality, or sometimes there's like different things that make like these Pokemon cards unique. And then in Black and White, we also experienced our first secret rare that I at least got, which was the secret rare Pikachu, where only the Pikachu and a little lightning bolt on the Pikachu card was actually made glossy. And so nothing else was special about it. So it wasn't like the Radiant Pokemon where, you know, you have the special texture and the special holo, or the over-the-top secret rares that came in, like, you know, the GX era, and even Sword and Shield, where it's like gold everywhere and very pronounced whatever item or Pokemon this is. It was just a simple glossy Pikachu going into the air with its hand over here. It was cute and it was awesome, and you know, that's the kind of thing that makes a memory for someone. And for someone coming into the game at any point in time, you know, this might be it. This might be the experience they get that then says, you know what, I'm going to continue collecting, and I'm going to play, and I'm going to learn. And you know, it's the things that they get to share with their friends at school or at home, or you know, as an adult who's telling your friends in accounting about, you know, the cards that you just got. So there's all that. And then I guess after Black and White, we had XY. XY base had the Yveltal, the Bacon Bird, and that's what I called it, but Yveltal EX, and then you also had the beautiful Xerneas EX full art Pokemon cards with the texture. I think this was before Rainbow Rares were a thing, but it was like wow, these cards are looking really great. I think it was the introduction of 5-band graphics as well. I don't remember that one exactly, so someone feel free to correct me if I'm wrong there. But it was an experience all its own. You know, these first sets don't maybe have the coolest Pokemon because we haven't fully defined what's going to be the essence of this new set, but what they do is introduce something completely new that's either relative to the game, relative to the card game, you know, as far as new Poke powers or abilities or some weird change in the gameplay that we have to take into account now. Like, I know that so the Arcanine is gonna have a power of some kind, like it's in a little box right under its title of, you know, Arcanine EX, and it's called Terastal. This Pokemon doesn't take any damage from attacks while on the bench. Like, we're not talking abilities anymore, we're talking about Terastal. And that's going to be this new concept in the gameplay that people are going to get to work around. Or, you know, learn to at least maneuver in a way that's going to end up being, like, able to be seen and enjoyed at the regional, even worldwide, and even local, like, League Challenge, League Cup level. Where people are going to be able to, like, see these things and be like, whoa, you made a really cool deck. And, you know, some of us didn't think of this, but you did. There are people who do, and they make the game more fun for everyone else because they're not only doing really great for themselves, but they're sharing that sort of competitive spirit with everyone around them. So, super excited. I guess after that we came into the Sword and Shield. I might skip Sun and Moon. Sun and Moon was the introduction of GXs as well as Rainbow Rares. Which Rainbow Rares were really cool for a while. I think that what people didn't end up liking was the fact that you could barely tell the texture and the text and the Pokemon from themselves on a Rainbow Rare card. So while they were super shiny and really impressive and very vibrant cards, they were very hard to use. And they also warped, kind of, you know, pretty easily because of all that holo. But Sun and Moon wasn't one of my favorite sets. It definitely was a good one though. Like, I have some of the packs, like Guardians Rising. Guardians Rising was particularly special at the time because it had Tapu Lele, which introduced, like, the most competitive Pokemon for a good bit because, you know, Tapu Lele could help you get the supporters. It just made things pretty cool. And then we entered Sword and Shield, which Sword and Shield was the beginning of, you know, my time actually collecting to, like, collect for the future, which I guess was a good time because what Sword and Shield ended up doing and what I appreciated the most out of this entire series run was that, well, one, it continued the actual Rainbow Rares, but it also continued with a new sort of Pokemon gameplay, which this actually provided Pokemon V Pokemon VMAX, as well as giving us Radiant Pokemon and alternate art Pokemon, and we had, what was that in Champion's Path? Like, also the shiny Pokemon, but that were, like, more, like, Hidden Fates level, but they redid that, and granted, it wasn't as good as what people wanted, which is, I guess, sort of the letdown, because, you know, this era came with the time of Champion's Path and Darkness Ablaze, and people expected these sets to have, like, these amazing Charizard Pokemon, and granted, Charizard is, like, overprinted to gosh darn oblivion, but it offers us the chance to have that reaction, and I think that's why it doesn't really matter, or maybe why it doesn't, you know, they don't mind if they put that extra Charizard in something because it makes you react, and that's sort of what drives some advertising to a level, because, you know, it's, if you're boring, if there's nothing going on, then yeah, like, people are like, whatever, this set was kind of boring, you know, there was nothing going on, and then it's forgettable because what Pokemon were in it? Was it playably good? Was it, like, special in any way? Like, Crimson Invasion did provide Buzzwole GX. Buzzwole GX was one of those competitive Pokemon that you actually wanted to have in your fighting deck, and it was really good, like, and expanded, as well as some standard play, and additionally, as a collectible level, Crimson Invasion did end up having Gyarados. And Gyarados Hyper Rare as a PSA card at the time, like if you got it graded and you got like a perfect 10, I think I sold mine for $150, you know, before PSA was doing that huge lag spike of like, you aren't getting your cards for over a year and a half. Actually, those PSA cards right there, I had put in, I think March of 2020. No. March of 2019, I want to say. It was no, actually, wrong again. I started working at the company I started working at in September 2020, and my manager trusted me sometime in October or November, because he had an old Pokemon card collection, and I told him I would grade one of his cards because he had a really clean looking Gyarados holo from base set, and I was like, you know, that's really cool. And it's also how I ended up connecting with the team, just a smidgen. But yeah, and then they didn't end up coming back until like March of 2022. Like past COVID, all this stuff, and it's like, it took forever. I don't know how we got to PSA, but yes, the Gyarados from Crimson Invasion. But the point is that, you know, Sword and Shield was able to evolve. It wasn't just stagnant with the fact of, yes, we're introducing V Pokemon, and you have these really cool VMAX Pokemon, like this Snorlax. I just put it back into the little sleeve. But this Snorlax was one of the first times we saw like an actual VMAX Pokemon, and if you saw the actual card Snorlax, it was like this full art, super vibrant, like everywhere that you could show the light on it, like textured, beautiful card. Like this card is iconic for this particular set, and it's kept it relevant in my mind at least, because this set isn't even about Snorlax. This set was particularly like the introduction of Zacian and Zamazenta, and you know, the game had just come out and everything was exciting like that, and yet this to me was the most iconic card in the set. So this excitement that I have is what I'm looking forward to someone else having with Scarlet and Violet, and hopefully Scarlet and Violet is the introduction to some other huge evolution throughout the line that changes things for the better, because I'm not sure if alternate art Pokemon are going to keep going. I'm not sure. I think they're cutting out the Rainbow Rare Pokemon, at least from what I've heard. I wonder what dynamics are going to be introduced. I wonder what type of different art forms might be introduced and how the game might be changed, you know? So, anyway, this is the video for today. I hope everyone's been having a great day and have a spectacular start to your weekend. Bye-bye!